All right, so I've started live streaming.
All right.
And so, Jovita, I've made you the host again.
All right. Good morning, Prof. How are you? Good morning, Prof.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning, Arpit Ji. Arpit?
Good
Hello.
morning, sir. Good
Yeah,
morning. You're well audible, sir.
Yeah, I am Professor Deshmukh from Aurangabad, India.
Welcome. Thank you, sir. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, I think Dharam Singh sir is not in on place.
Yeah, good morning, Prof. Good morning. I'm in.
Yeah. Good morning, sir. Professor, good morning.
Yeah,
Good morning, sir.
Welcome.
Yeah. Good morning. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning. This is the High Commission. I just wanted to check if I am audible.
Good morning, sir. We can hear you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Excellency. How are you? Good morning, colleagues.
Good morning.
Yeah,
Very
good morning.
good morning. A pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you so much.
Good morning, Dr. Amit.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. It's 9 o'clock Central African time. Before we start with the proceeding of the program, can we please stand up and sing along the Namibia National Anthem and the African Union Anthem? Thank you. Right, you may be seated. A very good morning, a good day, or good afternoon, or good evening to you, and welcome on board. We are live streaming from Zoom. The inauguration of the first series of the DSMLAI 2020. That is the International Conference on Data Science, Machine Learning, and Artificial Intelligence, hosted by the Faculty of Computing and Informatics at the Namibia University of Science and Technology, NUST. The weather here in Windhoek is sunny and clear sky, as we just ended a very cold month in Namibia. I know you are connecting abroad. Your weather and time zone might be completely different from us. However, one thing for sure is that the weather here on this platform is the same for all of us. I welcome you. I'm Dr. Colin Stanley, the General Co-Chair of the DSMLAI, and also the Acting Dean for the Faculty of Computing and Informatics. I will be your Director of Ceremonies for this program proceeding. Yes, you heard me very well at the beginning. It is DSMLAI 2020, while we are in 2021. This is due to the fact that this conference was scheduled for last year. As we all know, COVID-19 pandemic hit us, so we had to postpone to this year, 2021, in hopes that we will see each other face to face in our beautiful country, the land of the brave. Unfortunately, here we are online, also best fitting to conduct a conference covering cutting-edge technologies for the fourth industrial revolution and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, with our sponsors, the Association for Computing Machinery, ACM, International Conference Proceeding Series, ICPS, as the publisher of this conference, International Federation for Information Processing, IFEP, Dara Big Data, and Google as the diamond sponsor. At this moment, I call on Dr. Harold Naumap, the Vice Chancellor of the Namibia University of Science and Technology, to officially welcome you to DSMLAI 2020 International Conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director of Proceedings, for this honor and this platform. Director of Ceremonies, Dr. Colin Stanley, the Acting Dean, Faculty of Computing and Informatics, His Excellency, Mr. Prashant Akraval, High Commissioner of India to Namibia, Honorable Dr. Ida Ganji Murangi, Minister of Higher Education, Technology and Innovation, Father Roderick April, Secretary General, Namibia Commission for UNESCO, Professor Mike Hinchy, President, International Federation for Information Processing, Professor Anisia Peters, Pro Vice Chancellor, Research, Innovation and Development, University of Namibia, Professor Dharam Singh Jet, TPC Chair, DSMLAI and Chairman, the ACM Windhoek Chapter, Dr. Ahmed Joshi, IFIP and Director, GK Knowledge Research Foundation, India, Professor Jose Quinu, Local Chair, DSMLAI Conference, government officials present this morning, distinguished captains of industry, distinguished invited guests, delegates and speakers, members of the diplomatic corps, and the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. It is my profound honor to welcome you here this morning at the opening of the first series of the International Conference on Data Science, Machine Learning, and Artificial Intelligence, or in short, DSMLAI. This event is organized by the Namibia University of Science and Technology's Faculty of Computing and Informatics in association with the Association of Computing Machinery, VENTUC, and Special Interest Group on Computer-Human Interaction, SIGCHI, VENTUC chapter, and the African Strategy for Fundamental and Applied Physics. On behalf of the university, I would like to take this opportunity to wholeheartedly welcome His Excellency, Master Prashant Agrawal, High Commissioner of India to Namibia. We appreciate your support in high-performance computing, research infrastructure at NAST that have provided resources and services to the research communities for the purpose of fostering innovation. Thank you indeed. Furthermore, allow me to recognize our line minister, Dr. Ida Ganji Murangi, Minister of Higher Education, Technology and Innovation, who will deliver the keynote remarks and officially open this conference. We appreciate the ministry's unwavering support towards higher education in the country, with a special emphasis on technology and innovation. Director of Ceremonies, let me also express my sincere appreciation to the Secretary General of the Namibia National Commission for UNESCO, Father Roderick Abel, who supported the establishment of UNESCO chairs, such as number 1, Gender and ICT, number 2, Smart and Secure Environment, and number 3, Technology Co-Design with Indigenous and marginalized communities. I'm pleased to note that the standard agreement between UNESCO and NAST to formally establish the chairs was approved. Thank you indeed. For instance, the UNESCO chair on the smart and secure environment aims to contribute and accelerate the development of Namibian society, building the foundations for technology by creating a critical mass of high-level expertise. This will be achieved by strengthening focus areas in the smart and secure environment. This objective will be directed towards building institutional and national capacity for quality teaching programs, applied research, and the promotion of information sharing in communication, big data, and cybersecurity. Director of Ceremonies, we would like to welcome Professor Mike Hinchy as the inaugural keynote speaker of the conference, which aims to debate a broad spectrum of emerging topics about applications revolving around the fields of artificial intelligence or machine learning and data science. In particular, the conference will focus on 4 key aspects. Number 1, proposing new technologies, sharing experiences, and discuss future solutions for the design of intensive data applications, intelligent systems and interactions, robotics, learning and adoption, machine learning, and of course, AI in healthcare. Number 2, providing a common platform for academic pioneers, whether researchers, scientists, industrial engineers, or students, to share their views and achievements. Number 3, enriching technocrats and academics by presenting their innovative and constructive ideas. And number 4, discussing innovative issues on an international level by bringing together over 150 participants, including experts from 8 different countries. With these few remarks, Director of Ceremonies, let us share and fight this COVID-19 pandemic together in solidarity. I thank you and I wish you fruitful deliberations. Thank you and keep well.
Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor of the Namibia University of Science and Technology. I think we can give him a round of applause, and that we can do it visually also. There is a way to do that. You can unmute your mic and clap hands, or you could use also the options that are on the visual platform. Thank you indeed. And we proceed with our program. And at this point, we would like to hear the overview of the conference from our Professor Dam Singh Jad, and he's the Technical Program Committee, TPC, for this International Conference on Data Science, Machine Learning, and Artificial Intelligence. He's also the chairman of the Association for Computing Machinery, Windhoek chapter. Professor Dam Singh Jad is also the full professor at the Faculty of Computing and Informatics. Professor Dam Singh Jad, the floor is yours, or the platform is yours.
Thank you very much, Director Ceremony. Excellency, Honorable Minister, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed, good morning. On behalf of the Technical Program Committee, it's our great pleasure to present the first virtual data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence conference overview. The International Conference on Data Science, Machine Learning, and Artificial Intelligence is organized by Namibia Institute of Science and Technology, Faculty of Computing Informatics, from 9 to 12 August 2021 in association of Asia Windhoek chapter, Sikai Windhoek chapter, and African Strategy for Fundamental and Applied Physics. Conference features a high-quality technical program across a wide range of research areas in data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and related applications. Director Ceremony. Over 150 participants and experts from Namibia, India, South Africa, Saudi Arabia, United States, Ethiopia, Egypt, and United Kingdom will participate in this conference. Conference has been featured to receive 75 papers, of which 48 papers accepted the main technical program after through rigorous international peer review process. 6 of which are produced by the Faculty of Computing and Informatics. The acceptance rate of the submitted paper is 64%. This competitive acceptance rate of 64% reflect the prestigious and popularity of the conference to our research community. The accepted paper will be divided into 11 technical sessions. All accepted and presented papers will be published on the prestigious ACM Digital Library portal and become part in the world's highest quality body of technical literature in computing, informatics, science, engineering, and technology. 18 invited speakers, 3 ACM distinguished speakers, and 2 IEEE Computer Society distinguished visitor program speakers from 4 continents, Africa, Asia, North America, and Europe will present groundbreaking works on trend in data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence. And we take special pride in hosting our master and PhD students who together with our faculty staff lead the Namibian academic community in research undertaken and scientific paper published. The conference includes an inaugural session, 7 invited talks, 11 technical sessions, research day, 2 workshops, and a validatory session. First day of the conference begins with the inaugural session, followed by 2 keynote speeches, a technical session. In the afternoon, a workshop on data analytics and machine learning in Julia programming language will be take place by NUST faculty. The second day of the conference is Faculty Research Day, consisting of an inaugural session, 4 keynote speeches, and the African Research Symposium. African Research Symposium programs includes invited talks and oral contribution from African researchers. It is an excellent opportunity for our faculty member, research scholar, and students to exhibit their aptitude for research. Research Day encourages and promotes communications and collaboration between researchers at the university, national, and international level. Before noon of day 3, 3 technical sessions will be organized for paper presentation. A workshop on computing and 4th industrial revolution in association with African strategy for fundamental and applied physics will be organized in the afternoon. The ASFAP initiatives aims at producing a long-term strategy for reforming and transforming the basic physics education and application, higher education and scientific research system in Africa to energize and unlock the mind for brighter economic prospects. The workshop consists of presentation by notable experts, IEEE Computer Society Distinguished Visitor Program speakers in each area of computing and for industrial revolution. Further, the workshop includes panel discussion and presentation template for community contribution by conveners of ESFAP, computing, and 4th industrial revolution. On 12th August, day 4, 3 technical sessions will be held for paper presentation, and a Google speaker will deliver keynote speech. In the afternoon, the validator session will be organized. We warmly thank to keynote speakers, the reviewers, the session chairs, and all the researchers and scientists who contributed in the organization of conference with their time and efforts. But above all, we thank the authors and presenters for making the conference a great success. I wish to acknowledge with appreciation the role played by a member of the Technical Program Committee and the Publication Approval Committee of the Association of Computing Machinery for approving the publication ACM Digital Library. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Dam Singh Jat, for giving us a detailed overview of the conference from day 1 to day 4. Thank you very much. We have now in holistic view what we will foresee during these coming days. It's quite interesting, the type of discussions that is lined up. Thank you very much, Prof. We can give Prof a round of applause. I see some of us have already started doing that. A round of applause for Prof. Dam Singh. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to proceed with our program. And I also have the honor in this opportunity to allow Father Roderick April to give also welcoming remarks. And he's the Secretary General for the Namibia National Commission for UNESCO. And so at this moment, I would like to call on Father Roderick April to please do welcome remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director of Ceremonies, and Your Excellencies, Honorable Minister, especially Honorable Minister of Higher Education, Technology and Innovation, Dr. Ita Kanji-Murangi, colleagues in the academic field, ladies and gentlemen, and I stand with the protocol set by Dr. Nauma. Thank you very much for this opportunity. A very good morning to you all. It is an honor to give some remarks on behalf of the Namibia National Commission for UNESCO during this inaugural conference on data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. Alan Turing The mathematician said in 1950, and I quote, "We can only see a short distance ahead, but we can see plenty there that needs to be done," unquote. Today, this remains true in the field of AI, that it is like peeping through a keyhole, imagining what lies behind the door, what lies ahead. That is why I have to congratulate the organizers for this conference, because it gives an opportunity to all to peep through this AI keyhole. And by doing so, everyone can become excited of what lies ahead. And everyone who peeps must share their experiences. That is why our coming together is what is needed when having discourse on the present and future of AI. Our presence during this virtual conference is highly a collective partnership that we should treasure. And I also join Dr. Naumap in thanking you all for showing solidarity towards this cause. Colleagues, we are all aware that artificial intelligence has the potential to address some of the biggest challenges in education today, innovate teaching and learning practices, and ultimately accelerate the progress towards Sustainable Development Goal number 4 and national development. The National Commission for UNESCO, with its partners, are committed to support discussions on this nature and applaud the constitution of the Presidential Namibia 4th Industrial Revolution Task Force, who will definitely harness the potential of AI technologies for achieving the Education 2030 agenda, while ensuring that the application of AI in educational context is guided by the core principles of inclusion and equity. My dear friends, colleagues, during this time that we are venturing, we will become more aware of the potential that we as human beings have. With machine learning, developing tools and so forth, we will become aware of the value of us as humanity, because we are the people who think, who create, who reason. And we are the people who then give machines that opportunity also to engage with us. So we are in a very special space. You may be also aware, my dear colleagues, that UNESCO proposes the development of a comprehensive global standard setting instrument to provide AI with a strong ethical basis that will not only protect, but also promote human rights and human dignity. If adopted during the 41st session of the UNESCO General Conference this year in November, it will be an ethical guiding compass and a global normative bedrock, allowing to build a strong respect for the rule of law in the digital world. And I think during these days that lie ahead, I think that is something that we should also engage in, the ethical dimension of artificial intelligence. Furthermore, UNESCO has developed within the framework of the Beijing Consensus a publication aimed at fostering the readiness of education policymakers in artificial intelligence. This publication, Artificial Intelligence and Education, Guidance for Policymakers, will be of interest to practitioners and professionals in the policymaking and education communities. It aims to generate a shared understanding of the opportunities and challenges that AI offers for education, as well as its implications for the core competencies needed in the AI era. As you are fully aware that it is critical to build the capacity of young scientists to analyze data and to design tools. Looking at AI and the rule of law, ladies and gentlemen, the use of AI in judicial systems is being explored by judiciaries, prosecution services, and other domain-specific judicial bodies around the world. For example, in the criminal justice field, the use of AI systems for providing investigative assistance and automating decision-making processes is already in place in many systems across the world. Considering rapid developments in this field, the challenges and opportunities related to harnessing AI in these judicial systems and the implications for human rights and the rule of law must form part of discussions among stakeholders from the ecosystem. Therefore, this online training course in the form of a massive online open course is being developed in cooperation with UNESCO's Category 2 Center, CETIC, and the technological company in response to the needs expressed by UNESCO member states, judges, and other stakeholders. Looking at the present status quo in Namibia and what the Namibian National Commission for UNESCO has done, I also recall and reiterate what Dr. Naumap said earlier about the chairs. Thank you very much, Dr. Naumap, for those kind words of yours in terms of the chairs. Yes, and we are ready to embark on this collaboration with you and also the installation of these chairs that will set the route for us, not only us at NUST and in Namibia, but also with other universities and your partners as well. To close the gender gap of STEM, UNESCO and the National Commission for UNESCO have organized the celebrations of International Day for Girls and Women in Science for several years already. These celebrations aim to encourage girls and women to play a critical role in science and technology. In particular, there are a huge gender gap in ICT, like data science, machine learning, and AI in Namibia. Thus, it is very important to invest from a lower education level on STEM to build the basis and to create a culture of STEM. In 2020, we, working with GLODEM, organized training to reach 4 regions, 61 schools, 1,220 students, and 183 teachers, focusing on schools with PCs and internet connections in the Africa Code Week. Despite the challenges of COVID-19, we still were very successful in ensuring that a large number of teachers and learners attended the training. A lot of schools have provided feedback that they value the training and are now more involved in software and digital tools and platforms in general. You might also be aware, and I'm always close to closing, but you might also be aware that we have had a program with some two young men called the Engenete team and the Minds in Action. If you go to Seder here in Windhoek, for those people who are also joined in this platform, and for those who can reach there, they have a program on Makerspace in Sederhof, which aims to offer Namibian learners a new approach to knowledge and in the process unveil a path to the application of the 21st century skills in STEM. So that is one of the activities in the programs that we have to develop our artificial intelligence programs in Namibia. UNESCO and NATCOM also plan to organize the UNESCO Southern Africa Sub-Regional Forum on Artificial Intelligence in Windhoek, Namibia in 2022. The forum will provide a platform to engage with multi-stakeholders in Southern Africa to discuss the various topics related to machine learning and artificial intelligence, such as capacity building and decision making. My dear friends and colleagues, Namibia is one of 4 pilot countries to join a youth coding initiative. The National Commission for UNESCO will work closely with UNESCO Field Office in Windhoek to empower Namibian young people and teachers with coding skills and a better understanding of artificial intelligence with human values. Now, with this said, colleagues, I wish you well with your deliberations. I'm happy to have been invited and honored and feel humbled. And I assure you of our support from the Namibian National Commission for UNESCO. You have embarked on a very exciting world that lies ahead. Again, I say, in all of this, we will discover how precious we as human beings are. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Father April. Indeed, let's give Father April loud hands of applause. Thank you. We have taken note of what Father April has shared with us. Quite very interesting, and also to put the artificial intelligence and ethics, human values. And in fact, that is what the fifth industrial revolution is embarking on. So thank you very much. And also we've noted the projects that UNESCO is working on. Really, this is appreciated. And as you said, these are the platform for us to exchange and share knowledge. Thank you very much. So we can proceed with our program. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, I would also like to call on Dr. Amit Joshi. He's the chair of the International Young ICT Professional Group, India-YIT, and he's also the chair of IFEP, the International Federation for Information Processing. And he's also the director of GK Knowledge Research Foundation from India. So ladies and gentlemen, we are calling on Dr. Amit Joshi to also share some lights on this conference. Thank you. The platform is to you.
Thank you very much, Colin. And a big namaste from India to everyone present here. Namaste. Honorable eminent dignitaries, I think I cannot say dais, but in a digital platform, starting with Dr. Ethiah, who is the Honorable Minister for Ministry of Higher Education in Namibia, His Excellency Shri Prashant Agarwal ji, who is the host for Namibian from India to Namibia. We have the Vice Chancellor of the NUST, Dr. Erod Namab. We have Dr. Anisha Peters. We have Professor Mike Henchy. We have Father Roderick. We have Professor Dharam Singh Jat, who is a great mentor to me from a longer period of time over the duration. Professor Jules Cumin. Namaste to everyone. I, on behalf of, first of all, ICT Group of International Federation for Information Processing, which is a body formed by UNESCO, and it is now completing its 60th years, and in the 60th, celebrating the 60th anniversary this year. And for the 60th anniversary, there are 60 events planned all across the world through this IFEP International Young ICT Group, as well as an overall IFEP. I think the president of IFEP will be speaking soon over the complete details of this, but as a young ICT group chair, it's my responsibility that I should introduce Namibia as a whole country and Namibian University of Science and Technology as a part of the IFEP forum. So I invite all of you to be a part of IFEP forum. IFEP is a broad organization which has currently around 70 member countries, associations who are a part of IFEP. Formed by UNESCO, as I said, it's celebrating 60th years through World Computer Congress held in 1959 in Paris. So over the time in these 60 years, IFEP has grown overall through its member countries, member associations, imparting the need of information processing, which has changed over the time, providing many of the things in form of, you can say, support in form of policy recommendations to various governments, routing through IFEP, through UNESCO, and thereon. So I invite the young friends from Namibia University of Science and Technology to be a part of this international young ICT group, where they can engage in activities from the people from 75 to 80 different countries. Apart from that they can attend events which are being globally organized. There is also an opportunity to organize many of those events in Namibia through this. I hope that a fruitful association, maybe directly through Namibia University of Science and Technology or through Namibia as country as a whole, supporting IFIP would definitely prove to be more successful, more collaborative, more informative to the young generation who is coming up in IFIP and wanted to learn more about information and technology. I would like to highlight one more point. We have been organizing digital conferences like this. We are into machine learning, artificial intelligence, and data science field. But the main important thing, which we must remember that while attending this conference, because I understand that physically it is not possible at this point of time because global travel has come to an halt. Hope things can improve, but you should take this an opportunity, try to interact with people, try to interact with co-researchers, speakers, and all that, so that you can get benefit out of it. Coming to end of my speech, I really hope that the things will definitely change and we will meet together. Lastly, I'm quoting one very good example from Japan, which is a very small country, but very highly automated country in terms of machine learning and artificial intelligence. So what these Japanese believe, that they believe they have declared the names of their bullet trains on the perception of their thoughts. So there is a bullet train which is the least fastest, that is referred to as Kodama, because they believe that Kodama is an evil spirit which lives on a hill, and the sound it produces, it is referred as Kodama. So they believe that this Kodama runs with the speed of sound. Then comes the next fastest train, that is Hikari, which means a ray of light. So Japanese believe that this Hikari, which is the second fastest train in Japan, runs with the speed of light. But the most important thing, and the last one, is Nozomi, which Japanese believe that this train runs with the speed of hope, as Nozomi means hope. So the belief that Japanese have created in their thoughts, I think that such beliefs and such hopes will definitely change the world and make this place a better place to make this world a better place to live in. Thank you very much, Dr. Singh and whole committee of Namibia University of Science and Technology for inviting me. And I wish all the participants a grand success. Once again, namaste to all. Thank you.
Namaste. Let's give a hand of applause for Dr. Joshi. That was indeed insightful. And please, I hope the youth have taken note and appreciate the invitation to join this young ICT international group. So please take that opportunity and be part of this great team. As we proceed with our program, ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker needs no introduction in Namibia, especially, and also worldwide. She's a renowned professor, Anisha Peters. She's also the general co-chair of this DSMLAI conference, and she's also the chairperson of the Namibia Presidential 4th AIR Task Force, and she's also the Pro-Vice Chancellor for Research and Innovation and Development at Namibia at UNAM, University of Namibia. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Professor Anisha Peters.
Thank you so much, Director of Ceremonies, Dr. Stanley. Honorable Dr. Ita Kanji Murangi, the Minister of Higher Education, Technology and Innovation. Your Excellency, Mr. Prasant Agrawal, the High Commissioner of India to Namibia. Dr. Errol Naumap, the Vice Chancellor of NUST. Mr. Roderick April, the Secretary General, Namibia Commission of UNESCO. Prof. Mike Hinchley, the President, International Federation for Information Processing, IFIP, and keynote speaker at this opening. Allow me to stand on all of the protocols as said before me. I would like to say a very, very good morning to all of you. It's great to see so many of you because I know so many also. I'm a Josie. It's also good to see you again. It feels so exciting to finally see this conference actually happening. Because I think, as Dr. Stanley had explained, we had started in 2019 to plan for this conference because an international conference usually has a sort of a lead time and a planning time of about a year. And we had planned for it to take place in May 2020, even to coincide with the UNESCO Artificial Intelligence Conference. But COVID sort of gave us a very dramatic twist, reorientation and rescheduling of activities. And so here we are now. I think I also join you in another capacity. In addition to the General Conference co-chair, I also join you as the chair of the Windhoek ACM Sikai chapter, and I also deputize Prof. Singh on the Windhoek ACM professional chapter. So it's many intersections, right? And we're all sort of interlinked around the world. I'm also extremely grateful that and I think we have to brag about it because, I mean, it's like amazing to have all of the articles from this conference actually appear in the ACMDL. And I think that we need to give the conference organizers a well-deserved round of applause for that. Because that is the premier outlet for computing. And so to get it in there really speaks volumes. And it raises the profile of NUST, it raises the profile of Namibia out in the computing international arena. So I'm extremely happy about that. I think that one of the advantages of COVID is also that this conference is now coinciding actually with this recent appointment of His Excellency, the President of Namibia's 4IR Task Force, which I'm grateful for having the honor of chairing that task force. But the task force is, in fact, the mandate of the task force is to conduct a country assessment of Namibia's readiness for the 4IR, cutting across various sectors. It has work streams that include industry, the micro and small and medium entrepreneurs, investments, skills, infrastructure, regulatory environment, governance, national data, R&D, and of course the core 4IR technologies. Another key deliverable of this task force will be a national conference on artificial intelligence slated for April 2022. And so this current conference is a very good precursor to that and showcases already what Namibia has to offer in the space of 4IR. I've also taken note of all of the projects and initiatives that Reverend Roderick April has mentioned that is ongoing. And this is actually what makes it so exciting, when we can take stock of what we have and where we actually need to improve. I've also taken note that the conference program really shows a good mixture of some of our core 4IR technologies, such as machine learning, deep learning, blockchain, deep neural networks, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things. I've seen Internet of Medical Things, cybersecurity. But very important is also that we are also showcasing how it is applied in a real world application. And it cuts across actually a variety of sectors, such as, the flooding predictions. It goes into the digital health sphere, the medical fields. It goes into sort of cultural realms. So I think that the conference is a very, very good blend to show of what we can actually, how we can actually apply all of the technologies. Sustainable innovation, research and development cannot be achieved single-handedly. Hence the need for such initiatives such as this, where students, teachers, researchers, professionals, and government officials collaborate more closely than ever before, because ICT and 4IR technologies are key enablers of the industry, and it's very dynamic in nature. The challenges facing our industry is that we have an underdeveloped 4IR technology infrastructure and still a very big shortage of skills, together with an inadequate regulatory environment and investment climate, specifically in technology. And this, to address this, really requires national and international partnerships, collaboration, and solidarity. And I'm extremely glad, because we cannot do this alone, right? We always have to walk and work together. And so I'm extremely pleased to see that we have such a good blend of international and local expertise in these areas. And we will be calling on you in the future to come and help us even further in Namibia. So for any nation to prosper, institutions of higher learning need to play a leading role in providing the solutions to society's problems through innovation, as well as applied research and development. And whether it is the impact of the COVID pandemic or climate change in this tough time, inputs from the academic community in finding evidence-based sustainable solutions are of the essence here. Director of Ceremonies, artificial intelligence is already taking center stage in the world of work, driven by the exponential growth in computing power, accelerated by great leaps in quantum computing and big data. And by the way, this is still where we across Africa are lagging: ownership, control, increase, and use of our own data. We've also seen that NUST actually also holds a patent on the, the crypto algorithms to sort of bring about new security protocols. Because we see that in the age of quantum computing, it's going to take about 8 hours to break your cryptographic protocols. So NUST is also the holder of that, and I think that was registered in 2019. So you can see that we are moving in strides in one area, but in the other areas, we're also still lagging behind very much. So there's like an inequalities that are existing. However, this disruptive revolution requires each one of us to change our attitudes and adapt to change. We can no longer be trapped in linear and rigid ways of thought. Therefore, it is delightful that this conference and NUST is forward-thinking by providing such a platform at the international level where researchers and developers can contribute to the fourth industrial revolution. I'm confident that this conference will reinforce the knowledge in scientific and technological advancement. The Namibian government has also deployed various strategies to ensure the growth in the economy sustainably and inclusively, and using the 4IR technologies as the enablers. It takes continuous efforts for such initiatives like what NUST have taken in this field of research and innovation. And I'm well aware that researchers, speakers, and authors are participating from many countries who have taken a keen interest in this conference, and I'm sure that it will be beneficial for all. Once more, congratulations to all of you for your participation and organization of this conference, and I am sure that you will have fruitful and rewarding exchanges in the next few days. I wish you every success in this important conference, and I look forward to learning about the outcomes. I thank you.
Thank you so much. That reminds us our land of the brave, born and bred in Namibia, and now an international professor, contribution to the digital world. What so well articulated Professor Anisha Peters it reminded us that honestly, we are moving from market share economy to a mind share economy, and we need to collaborate closely as ever before. And thank you so much for highlighting the interesting topics that are lined up in this conference, and also giving the background of this conference. That was really insightful and appreciated. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I also have this honor and opportunity to welcome His Excellency, Mr. Prashant Agrawal, the High Commissioner of India to Namibia. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Stanley, the Master of Ceremonies. Honorable Minister Dr. Ita Ganji Murangi, the Minister of Higher Education, Technology and Innovation. Vice Chancellor Dr. Errol Nabak, Vice Chancellor of NUST. Professor Anicia Peters, the Chairperson of the Namibian Presidential 4IR Task Force and Pro-Vice Chancellor of University of Namibia. Very distinguished panelists, colleagues, and participants. Please allow me to observe the protocol as already established by Dr. Naubach and the Master of Ceremonies. Let me just say that it's a pleasure and I'm delighted to be joining all of you for this very impressive conference today morning. I am a public servant, and let me assure you that it's always a pleasure to get in touch with our academics, such leading thinkers from the region who are assembled here today. And let me congratulate Dr. Naubach, the Vice Chancellor, for putting together this event, which sees a very large number of stakeholders from across the board and from several countries joining us today. I will just have a few general points to make on why we should be doing what we are doing it. Now, I've gone through the program of this conference, and I must say it's most impressive, the sheer range and breadth of the topic and the issues that you have covered. And I'm particularly delighted that we are hosting it in Namibia, and I also have a large number of colleagues from India joining us, so are from other countries. But why Namibia, or why in a developing country, I would say? Because most of the issues that you are talking about look and sound very futuristic. And, one could have said that, oh, they belong to perhaps, somewhere in the US or in Europe, for example. But I think it's extremely important that as Global South, as developing countries, we fully take charge of all the issues on DSMLAI, because we are looking at the fourth industrial revolution. And as developing countries, we largely missed out on the first industrial revolution and the second industrial revolution. And the consequences were absolutely devastating. The after effects of those emissions have been felt for decades, across the continents of Asia and Africa. So I think it's important that developing countries are fully a part of, this process. Digital divide is something that we have heard for long, but it is essential that this divide is narrowed and eventually bridged. But I also see exciting opportunities ahead for us because of what technology leapfrogging is all about. And if I can give a small example from India, from the past, in India, we struggled to provide basic landline telephone connections to a lot of people in the 70s and 80s and so on. But when the mobile phones arrived, we leapfrogged that stage of providing landline phone connections to people. And we went straight to mobile telephones, and it allowed and it enabled us to provide an equitable access to a large number of people. And I think machine learning, artificial intelligence, and so on, these are technologies which can allow us developing countries to leapfrog into the future. So I think there is a lot of, exciting and excitement ahead of us in that regard also. The third point I would like to make is that while many of these issues sound very futuristic, but we have to ensure that they don't remain in the realm of academics, but that they are very firmly rooted to development. Now, COVID-19 was one example where I think a lot of artificial intelligence and data science were put to use. We had examples where people quickly developed applications where one could, for example, scan and analyze chest X-rays to predict COVID-19. A lot of contact tracing apps were developed, but let me again give you one example from India of CoWIN, which is our technological backbone for providing the COVID-19 vaccinations to about 1 billion people. And almost 350 million people have already taken advantage of this platform. So massive numbers, and you therefore need the adequate technology, bandwidth, and backbone to anchor these kind of developmental requirements. I was reading about another very exciting project in which artificial intelligence enabled weather forecasts and rainfall predictions and moisture content to provide very targeted advice to farmers in India about when they should be starting the cropping season, when should be they sowing the seeds. And the result of that experiment was that crop yields went up from 10% to 30% in a short span of time. So we are looking at these kind of applications of all the good work that all of you are doing. The fourth point, which I would like to mention and which Dr. Peters and others have already mentioned, that we are in it together. It cannot be done by any single institution or any single sector. The governments have an important role to play. I think they need to regulate some aspects because there are issues of ethics, there are privacy issues and so on, which are involved, which Father April also mentioned. But I think governments also have an important role of playing as facilitators. And I think one great example is the Namibian Presidential 4IR Task Force, which has been set up by His Excellency the President. And I think we are following the work of Professor Peters and her colleagues with great excitement. But another example is the India-Namibia Center of Excellence in IT, which is hosted by NUST. And again, it's a perfect example of how governments can come together for collaboration on these issues of vital importance to us. And I think the supercomputer, but more than that, the brain power of people who are associated with INC IT at NUST, I think provides wonderful resources for DSMLAI work. So in India, again, one more example is this platform called indiaai.gov, which we have set up to enable and encourage AI-related applications. And we would be very happy to share our G2G experiences, government experiences in this area with our partners in Namibia and elsewhere. Allow me to conclude by once again thanking you for having us join you, and let me wish very fruitful deliberations in this very important conference. We look forward to hearing more from you on the outcomes. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Excellency. You have given us quite good examples taking from your home country, India. And we know why, because there is a proven evidence that, yes, India has leapfrog in the computing field. Yes, we need to learn from those experiences so that we also be at par with the other countries. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. That was quite insightful, and very happy that you have given that information to us. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we have now come to a very special moment at this juncture, and we would like to introduce the keynote speaker, I will first read his bio so that you will get to know a bit about him, so that when he comes on to talk to us, we know who he is. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm calling on Professor Mike Hinchy. First, now reading his bio. Professor Mike Hinchy is a professor of software engineering at the University of Limerick, Ireland. Before joining LERO, an Irish software research center, he was the director of the NASA Software Engineering Laboratory. He continues to serve as a NASA expert. In 2009, he was awarded NASA's Kelly Award as Innovator of the Year. Hinchy holds a B Science in Computer Science from the University of Limerick, an M Science in Computation from University of Oxford, and a PhD in Computer Science from University of Cambridge. He also holds 26 US patents on various aspects of autonomous systems, code generation, and computer hardware. He's an author, editor of more than 15 books, over 200 articles on various aspects of software engineering. Hinchy previously held positions as a full professor in Australia, UK, Sweden, and USA. He is a chartered engineer, chartered engineering professional, chartered mathematician, and chartered information technology professional, and a fellow of the IET, British Computer Society, and Irish Computer Society. Furthermore, he is the president of IFEP, the International Federation for Information Processing, and vice chair and chair-elect of the IEEE UK and Ireland section. He is also the editor-in-chief of Informations in Systems and Software Engineering, a NASA journal and Journal of the Brazilian Computer Society. Hinchy is also part of the Program Advisory Committee, PAC, for the PhD in Computer Science degree at the Faculty of Computing and Informatics at the Namibia University of Science and Technology, NUST. NUST welcomes Professor Mike Hinchy as the keynote speaker at the International Conference on Data Science, Machine Learning and Artificial Intelligence, DSMLAI. Professor Mike Hinchy, I have the honor to provide this visual platform to you so that you share your knowledge with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. I appreciate that. Thank you for your very nice introduction. Could you please allow me to share my screen so that I can show my slides?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Great. Thank you very much. So, hello again, everyone. I have a sort of a joke title to my talk, "The Robot Ate My Homework." People of a certain age will probably understand this joke. When I was in school, in high school, certainly the excuse for not having homework done was that the dog ate it. And that was always the running joke. So of course, nowadays, it's the robot will eat the homework. And that's the robot will actually mean that you don't have your homework done. And I happened to be at the Sony headquarters in Tokyo on the day that they launched Aibo, which was this toy dog robot. It was very expensive, but a small child was playing with one and it was so cute, I actually had to buy one. And unfortunately, it was dreadful. So first of all, it was supposed to be able to recognize me, which it didn't. It was supposed to be able to recharge itself, which it didn't. It was supposed to be able to take commands, which it didn't. And basically, the only thing the dog actually did was sleep. And so it was rather a frustrating situation. Of course, nowadays we're used to using AI in just about everything. So normally we would get together, we would normally be meeting in Namibia today, and we would be traveling somehow, and somehow we would be using AI in various formats. I have a colleague who's absolutely obsessed with getting rid of traffic lights. I live 217 kilometers from Dublin Airport, and there is only one set of traffic lights between my house and the airport, and hopefully we'll get rid of those soon. I was reading an article recently in the last couple of weeks that an experiment in England has been sending signals from traffic lights to a device in a car, which presumably will eventually be built into the car. And what it does is that it lets people know to slow down so that they don't hit a red traffic light. And the idea is that, of course, people will get to continue on their journey, but instead of stopping, we will be reducing the amount of emissions, which is a huge, huge advantage. So it's actually estimated that it can reduce emissions by about 2/3 by doing something as simple as this. And of course, I have worked in the past with NASA, and this is the Artemis, as it eventually became known. It was originally called Orion and Constellation and Artemis, and it has had several names, but it's gone back to the name Artemis. And this was to be the largest software project in history. So the estimate for the software was $8 billion just for the software. And this is the heavy launch to go back to the moon and ultimately onto Mars. And of course, we've seen lots of interest in space over the last few months. The new rover on Mars and the helicopter on Mars that I'll mention again a little bit later on. And it's been amazing the interest that we've had in going to Mars and going to the moon. And it's been multiple countries. It's not just the US, it's the UAE, China, India. Multiple countries are interested in going to Mars and understanding more about the planet. And of course, using AI techniques to explore that planet. We've already heard mentioned today of Industry 4.0, and in fact, people are now talking about Industry 5.0. We're looking at the next level that's going to be going beyond robotics and going beyond just simple automation, but going to something that would include so much more understanding and so much more intelligence built into the process. We've seen the development of energy. We've seen telecommunications, and unfortunately, this last year or year and a half, we've seen so much reliance on technology for treating patients, understanding how to take care of patients, and identifying people who may be at risk because of the coronavirus. And a lot of it is based on a very simple technology, a technology that we already heard about from the High Commissioner that has been so beneficial to countries like India, but has been so beneficial to all of us. And in the last year and a half, we've seen how we've been relying on all sorts of transactions online, even just for buying basic foodstuffs. And of course, that puts us at risk because there are opportunities for us to be exploited because we're trying to do everything online. And you may recall in the middle of last summer, last year, that a number of celebrity accounts were hacked, politicians, actors, and so on. So here you can see a posting from Barack Obama's account saying that if you send me $1,000 in Bitcoin, I'll send you back $2,000. Well, of course, this was a hoax. This was somebody who hacked into his Twitter account and posted this message. Would like to think that the people who were naive enough to believe that this was really Barack Obama asking them to send him $1,000 in Bitcoin would not understand how to send Bitcoin and therefore would not really have been exploited. But I'm sure a lot of people did fall for this and thought that they would be able to make use of it. So we're in a situation where we're dealing with a truly cyber-physical social system. So eventually everything is going to be interconnected, everything is going to be more intelligent, everything is going to use much more technology. So it's a cyber-physical social system in the sense that it's based on software, so that's why it's cyber. It's physical because we're actually using physical devices, whether it's cell phones or wearable technology or our cars, everything that we use. And it's social because we're sharing our information with our friends. We're telling our friends where we are, what we're doing, what we're up to. But we're also sharing that with organizations that are giving us various types of apps, which they're giving to us for free in many cases. But they're taking our information from that app and they're using that information and monetizing that information and making a profit from it. So we are sharing so much with our friends, but we're also sharing it with organizations that we don't know anything about. And we don't know that they are using that information always for good. And in many cases, they're not. So in this context, there is the Sustainable Development Goals. So we have 17 goals that the United Nations has set to try to solve by the end of 2030. These are broken down into 169 different actions, but the point is that there are 17 goals, all of which are intended to transform the world, to transform the way we live, and to make our lives better. So in July each year, the United Nations publishes this SDG Pulse. So it's the Sustainable Development Goals Pulse. And in 2020, they highlighted 7 areas that they wanted to emphasize. So you can see them here. There's zero hunger, decent work and economic growth, industry innovation, reduced inequalities, responsible consumption and production, peace, justice, and strong institutions, and partnerships for the goals. Of course, this was planned for up to a year beforehand, and this was before the coronavirus happened. Well, on 2021, in fact, just about a month ago, they published the SDG Pulse again. And unfortunately, it is exactly the exact same 7 areas of emphasis. No mention of health. What happened here? This just does not make sense. These are things that we want to achieve by the end of 2030. These are, of course, important areas of concern, but why are we not talking about health? So number 3 on the 17 goals is good health and well-being. And it says that we want to do health monitoring via emerging technologies, remote contact diagnosis and treatment, population and disease monitoring, preparing for disease outbreaks, identifying patient symptoms, following established treatment protocols, and performing remote diagnostics, and helping analyze trends and make projections about disease outbreaks, health service usage, patient knowledge, attitudes, and practices. All of these things are exactly what we've been doing for the last year and a half. These are all the things that we have been emphasizing. These are the things that are absolutely essential and where AI and data science is going to be very, very, very important. And again, it's going to be based very much on simple technologies like smartphones. So unfortunately, some of the tracking and tracing systems have not worked well. This is a cartoon from Peter Brooks, who's one of my favorite cartoonists. He publishes regularly in the Times of London newspaper. And it's basically saying that certain track and tracing systems did not work well. So the BBC asked, why did the UK system, why did the English system not work well when the Irish system worked fantastically and the German system worked fantastically? Well, the Irish Times explains why. In a country that has a very young population, it's only 5 million people in the country, but many of the people in the country are very young. And in fact, it's allegedly one of the youngest populations in the world. So the point is that people downloaded the app and they used it. Within a week, 23% of the population had downloaded the app and were using it. And you can contrast this to France, where in a population of 65 million people, only 1.5 million people downloaded the app, and most of those deleted it within a week. So the problem is that the technology was there, but was not being used, was not being adopted. And that is absolutely essential that we adopt these kind of technologies. And the Irish version has now been made available open source, not suggesting that it's the best system in the world, but the point is that people use it. And as a result, it was successful. So again, we have all these sustainable development goals that we were trying to emphasize and trying to look at, but healthcare obviously has to be the big one for this year. So we're looking at over the period of time, I have been working for 25 years or so in the space industry, and we're looking at how we can build resilient space exploration systems. And space systems are some of the most expensive systems ever built. They are absolutely require huge levels of autonomy. If they fail, we lose 25, 30 years of effort, because most missions take 25 to 35 years in planning. And NASA has a role that they have to use this technology in other areas. In fact, it is absolutely mandated by Congress that anything NASA develops has to have a role in something other than in the space industry. So we've been working on using swarm technology. So very much the intention is to take artificial life and put it into our systems. So we're inspired by swarms of bees, flocks of birds, colonies of ants. And the idea is not to copy these directly, but to be inspired by them. And so we've seen this used in many, many areas. I have a colleague who works for Johnson & Johnson, and he tells me that they've brought drug discovery down from an average of 17 years to an average of about 4 years. It's widely used in communication systems, in video on demand in particular. The idea of using environmental monitoring is based on swarm technologies. People think of NASA going to space, but actually NASA spends more than half its budget on monitoring the Earth and looking at the oceans, looking at the lakes and rivers. And so we can use swarm technologies for this sort of monitoring as well. And of course, the idea is to use it for exploration, which is what I've been working on. So the idea is that we send a large number of smaller spacecraft instead of one large one. We have better use of solar power. This is a major issue because we need batteries that can be recharged quickly. We can send spacecraft to places where a large spacecraft could not go. We can do more complex things like taking X-rays, which require 2 devices to coordinate. We have greater accuracy and flexibility. And more importantly, we have resilience, that we have spacecraft that can survive in space over long periods of time. So I've been working, as I said, for about 25 years now on the autonomous nanotechnology swarm. So the idea is to send a large number of autonomous spacecraft to explore the surface of the Moon and Mars, to explore the rings of Saturn, and to explore the asteroid belt. And that's the one that we've been focusing on. So the idea is that we will use this sort of technology. So this device, as you can see, moves by effectively falling over. It can go over rough terrain. It can go over rocks and craters. And we can connect a number of these together to create a sort of a caterpillar, and that can carry more heavy equipment. So this is the actual thing on Earth. And you can see it basically moves by falling over. This can shrink down to be a 30-centimeter cube. It can expand out to be 2 meters tall, and it can climb the outside of a 5-story building. Of course, on another planet with less gravity, it will move more smoothly. So we've been working on this mission that will basically launch 1,000 spacecraft from L1. L1 is the Earth Moon Lagrangian point. From there, we launch 1,000 spacecraft. The reason for 1,000 is that we expect to lose many of them just because they collide with each other. But when they get to the asteroid belt, then they will form subgroups where they will collect data from various asteroids of interest, and send this data back to Earth. As you can probably see here, the arrow on the number 5 is showing the data being sent back to Earth. You'll notice that there's no data coming the other way, because this mission has to be absolutely self-managing, self-running, completely autonomous in space, because there is a 40-minute delay on signal sent round trip. So even if we could send a message back to Earth saying, give me instructions on what to do, even if we could send those instructions immediately, there is a 40-minute delay between the first signal being sent and the response coming back. This means the entire mission would be lost by the time we can send instructions. So this mission has to be 100% autonomous, has to be 100% self-managing in space. So we've gotten a lot of interest from the media because of this. Here's an article from 10 years ago in New Scientist, which is a very reputable science magazine. And the Times of London gave a full page article to us describing some of the work that we've been doing. And my late mother got her first patent at 81 years of age, and she licensed this patent to NASA. NASA have used it in the helicopter that's currently on Mars. So she really, it was a complete accident. I overheard her talking on the phone to one of her friends, telling her friend what I do, and this was completely wrong. But when I thought about what she had described, we were able to adapt it, and we were able to turn it into a patent. And so it has been patented, and as I say, is now licensed to NASA and is used in the helicopter that's currently on Mars. So we can do lots of planning, we can do all sorts of things on paper. It doesn't necessarily mean that it scales up to be the largest project ever, the largest software project ever, but we can certainly do a lot of planning, and we come up with these great ideas, and many of these ideas will of course come to fruition. And because we're able to use these in space, we will adapt them to be used in other areas and to be used on Earth for all sorts of benefits to industry, to organizations, to businesses, and we will exploit these technologies and use them on Earth. So there are a number of questions we want to ask ourselves about AI. So will AI really take over the world, or will we let it? Many people ask me, will AI take over? Absolutely it will. It already is doing that. Unfortunately, we have put a lot of emphasis on things that we call AI when they're not really AI, they're just automation. Automation and AI are not the same thing, and we have to be very cautious about that. So how do we decide how much we allow a system to make decisions about its own future? And what parts of systems do we allow to make decisions about future behavior? This is very much an issue that we have to address. And now that we allow a system to change itself, we allow a system to make decisions, do we know that we have safety properties built in? Do we know that these decisions will be safe? And how much trust can we put into a system that has been allowed to adapt itself? So if we're allowing a system to adapt, does this make sense that we can trust it in the future and that we can rely upon it to be safe in the future? Will robots take our jobs? Absolutely, but they'll also create other jobs. So we have to look at all technology has done the same thing. All technology has taken away jobs, but it's created other jobs in other areas. So we have to think of how our situation will change over time, how our workforce will change over time, how we take away the boring routine jobs and give that to automation and to AI, and then create new jobs, more valuable jobs as a result. One very important issue is consciousness. And here's my good friend, Roger Penrose. Actually, yesterday was his birthday. He was 90 years old yesterday. He wrote a very famous book called The Emperor's New Mind back in the 1990s. And he argues that we don't have AI if we don't have consciousness. So again, it's not just automation. It has to be autonomous. It has to be able to make decisions. It has to have some sort of understanding. And if it doesn't have understanding, it is not AI. And a word of warning, do not trust robots. This is taken from an art gallery in London, and sorry, it's not a very good photograph. I wasn't sure if I really should be taking the photograph or not, but it is from a gallery in Soho in London. And again, do not trust robots. Thank you very much. Thanks, Colin. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Mike Hinchy. Really, we have taken notes on what you have shared with us, and especially just on the last point on open questions. And I think we have academia here, industry. Those are quite real open questions that we should undertake and really have conscious in our automation, and also that automation is different from artificial intelligence. Totally agree. And also that you clarified the cyber, physical, social systems. And I think a lot of us have taken note of that. That was quite indeed insightful, and also really taking us to NASA to understand what is happening there, and also that autonomous communication, and also communication back to Earth. That is indeed for us quite insightful, and honored that you have shared this with us. Thank you very much, Professor Mike Hinchy. I think we can give you another round of applause, please. Ladies and gentlemen, as we are moving towards the end of this proceeding, for us to officially open up the conference, it is my honor indeed to call on our Minister of Higher Education, Technology and Innovation, Dr. Ita Kanji Murangi. So our line minister, Honorable, the microphone is to you.
Thank you, Director of Proceedings, Dr. Colin Stanley, Acting Dean of the Faculty of Computing and Informatics. Dr. Errol Naumab, NASTU Vice Chancellor, His Excellency, Mr. Prasanth Agarwal, High Commissioner of India to Namibia, the inaugural keynote speaker at this opening, Professor Mike Hinchy, President, International Federation of Information Processing, Professor Anisha Peters, Pro Vice Chancellor, Research, Innovation and Development, University of Namibia, and Chair for the Namibia Presidential Fourth Industrial Revolution Task Force, Professor Dam Singh Jat, TPC Chair, DSMLAI and Chair, ACM Windhoek Chapter, Secretary General, Namibia National Commission for UNESCO, Mr. Roderick April, Dr. Amit Joshi, Inter-YIT Chair, IFIP and Director, GK Knowledge Research Foundation, India, Professor Jose Quenam, Local Chair, DSMLAI Conference, government officials present, distinguished captains of industry, distinguished invited guests, delegates and speakers, members of the diplomatic corps, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure for me to address this distinguished assembly of educators, innovators, reformers, visionaries, engineers, and information architects at this international conference on data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. I am grateful for Namibia University of Science and Technology's role in representing our country in organizing this important conference, together with the Association of Computing Machinery, Windhoek Chapter, and Special Interest Group on computer-human interaction, again, Windhoek chapter, and the African Strategy for Fundamental and Applied Physics. I am aware that the Faculty of Computing and Informatics here, or rather at NUST, has strived to maintain the highest standards of education through research, innovation, and community engagement. And it has taken practical steps to keep up with the demanding and radically changing technological environment of the present millennium. I'm particularly impressed with the multifaceted activities initiated by your faculty. The research, publication, and industry and community collaborations at the Faculty of Computing and Informatics involves, for example, child online protection, water security for Namibia using smart sensors, Sun community co-designing gestures for virtual reality systems, co-designing conservation technologies for Iona Skeleton Coast Transfrontier Conservation Area that includes Angola and Namibia, with the Faculty of Natural Resources and Spatial Sciences and Big Data Infrastructure and Analytics with the Namibia Statistics Agency. The research focus areas deliver output towards the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, targets and indicators of SDGs 9, 4, 11, 10, 2, 3, 6, and 17. I'm proud to see that the Faculty of Computing and Informatics is establishing 3 UNESCO chairs in gender and digital technologies. That's the first one. The second one in smart and secure environment. And also the third one in technology co-design with indigenous and marginalized communities. I must say that as a ministry, we are happy to see to it that those 3 important areas in our development agenda are taken up at a very high level in terms of academia with expertise to ensure that challenges and problems that we have around those areas could actually be unearthed through proper research, that is applied research, that will lead us to homegrown solutions to some of those areas. Now, at this point, I would like to congratulate you, Mr. Vice Chancellor, Dr. Harold Nauma, and your team, including the acting dean of the Faculty of Computing and Informatics, Dr. Colin Stanley, and the entire team for organizing this important conference here in Namibia. We are extremely happy to see that this conference, in a way, I can say, it is a forerunner to some of the critical areas that the 4th Industrial Revolution Task Force will actually delve into. And therefore, I believe whatever happens at this conference will indeed lay the foundation to some of the work of that important task force. This conference brings cutting-edge research, discussions among academics, researchers, scientists, industrial engineers, and students. It also provides a platform for them to present their research papers on new technologies, shared experience, and propose probable solutions to current and anticipated future problems. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm informed that day 2 of this conference will see the running of the Faculty Research Day. This event will include keynote speeches and the hosting of the African Research Symposium. The African Research Symposium program will consist of talks from invited guests and oral contributions from African researchers. It is an excellent opportunity for all faculty members, research scholars, and students to exhibit their aptitude for research. This will encourage and promote communication and collaboration between investigators at the institutional, national, and international levels. I'm therefore happy to know that the Namibia University of Science and Technology is virtually hosting the workshop on computing and the fourth industrial revolution of the African strategy for fundamental and applied physics in conjunction with the DSMLAI conference. The ASFAP initiative aims at producing a long-term strategy for reforming and transforming fundamental physics research and application, higher education, and scientific research systems in Africa to energize and unlock minds for brighter economic prospects. Strategic capacity development, retention, and research in computing and the fourth industrial revolution will play an important role in the development of Africa. I would like to take this opportunity to extend my sincere appreciation to the faculty for this contribution. However, I need to emphasize the fact that Namibia is looking up to you, NAST, and your partners to deploy applied research to solve our socio-economic problems. Namibia is looking up to you, again, to use technologies, innovation, and the fourth industrial revolution to accelerate our national development as well as our industrialization agenda. Namibia is looking up to you, NAST, to ensure that through a myriad of partnerships and collaborations that you have, you will deploy your scientists and innovators to ensure that you rid our nation of COVID-19. And indeed, Namibia is also looking up to you to ensure that with the upcoming green hydrogen project, you position our human capital to ensure that the right skills are in place to be able to actually extract all the elements and components that are needed to ensure that, again, in that very important project of our country, we put it on the map and make sure that we have the right skills. Director of Ceremonies, the theme of this important international conference is of utmost importance. The deliberations will be very useful for the participants as they will serve as a future guideline for the fourth industrial revolution development in our country. This is a very meaningful and productive academic exercise where members of the faculty and students will benefit from the experience and expertise of experts from around the globe. The recommendations flowing from this conference will be important learning points for the participants and help them to lead the way in adopting data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence to meet the challenges of day-to-day life. At this juncture, I wish you all great success for this conference, and I do congratulate the organizers for this excellent effort in hosting this conference. I'm sure that through the input of the specialized delegates and distinguished speakers from academic institutions across the world, this conference will assist in resolving meaningful issues in computing and the fourth industrial revolution, and that this gathering shall be remembered as adding new dimensions to the knowledge society. I now have the singular honor to declare this conference officially opened, and I thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister of Higher Education, Technology and Innovation of our country, the land of the brave. We have taken note of your call that Namibia is watching and waiting for us. And indeed, we take that with pride. We will deliver. At this point, so would like to really thank our Honorable Minister again. I would like to give another hands of applause, please. One last item so that we can proceed with the technical presentation. I'd like to call on Professor Jose Quinum, local chair of DSMLAI. He's also our professor at the Faculty of Computing and Informatics, to give us a vote of thanks. Professor Jose Quinum.
Thank you, Director of Ceremonies, Dr. Stanley, and good morning to you all. First of all, please allow me to stand by the protocol established by Dr. Nauma, the Vice Chancellor of NUST. So as the TPC Chair, Prof. Damsing, highlighted in his address, we've got a week packed with a lot of talks, a lot of events, all centered around artificial intelligence and data science. And I hope at this point, at least some of these titles have intrigued you. And we really look forward to seeing you throughout the week. So just, it's my pleasure to express our gratitude to Dr. Itakanji Munanji, the Honorable Minister, Ministry of Education, Higher Education, Technology and Innovation, Namibia, His Excellency Mr. Prashant Agrawal, the High Commissioner of India to Namibia, Dr. Errol Nauma, our Vice Chancellor, Professor Anisha Peters, the General Co-Chair of the conference, Chairperson of the Namibian Presidential Fourth Industrial Revolution Task Force, and Pro Vice Chancellor at University of Namibia. Also, the other General Co-Chair, Dr. Colin Stanley, the Acting Dean of the Faculty, Professor Mike Hinchey, for your insightful, President of International Federation of Information Processing, for your insightful keynote, Father Roderick April, Secretary General, Namibia National Commission for UNESCO, Dr. Amit Joshi, for your very warm address, International Young ICT Professional Group Chair and Director of GK Knowledge Research Foundation, and finally to our TPC Chair, Prof. Dham Singh Jat. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's please stand up for the AU and the national anthem. Hi, Jovita. Yes. Yes, I did. Professor Mike Hinchey, can you please give the host back to Ms. Jovita? Hello.
Could you play it in the background and unmute herself, Shavita?
I need to share it and I can't share.
Okay.
No, just
Could you
play
play it in the
Okay.
background? Then we'll
All right.
hear.
Yeah. Okay, get it.
Thank you. Proceeding is concluded. You're welcome to join the technical presentation. So there is the link provided. We welcome you to join the technical presentations. Thank you very much indeed for everyone that has joined, including all the high-level dignitaries. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you. You did well. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend April. Thank you very much. It was
Thank
a
you.
pleasure having you.
Thank you.
Thanks
Keep
to all.
well.
Thanks. Thanks to all.
To all of you.
Thanks, Colin.
Thank you.
Thanks, Colin. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amit.
Thank you all.
To everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dharam Sarji. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Professor Dharam,
Thank you very much.
But I have already reached